Hello. Hello.
Hi. Hi.
That's a bit of flaming action.
Sorry.
So, when Seb does the countdown from
Yeah.
three, two,
No,
one,
yeah.
that.
I was expecting one, two, three. That was it. Sorry, Sam.
But hopefully, we are back, um, delayed or not delayed, with another Meet People stream. Thank you all for joining us. We have with us today Thomas, um, who is our guest for this month.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
So I mean, let's get straight into it. So, Thomas, can you maybe just introduce yourself a little
Sure.
bit broadly, and then we can go into detail on more topics afterwards.
Sure. Hi, I'm Thomas. I am a first year Astrophysics PhD student from Cardiff University. I also do Science Communication on Twitch, on YouTube, and sometimes in person, but rarely. Um, yeah, I did my undergrad in St Andrews in Scotland, and now I'm here.
Good.
Sounds fun. Oh, Scotland.
Colder,
I've never been to
wetter.
Scotland before.
Okay.
Yeah, colder, wetter. Oh, feels hot faster. Other than that, broadly similar.
Mhm. Maybe the better question is, how are you finding Cardiff? Because
Maybe.
yeah, so
Because or
because
Because
well,
it is the most rainy place in the UK, apparently.
I think Glasgow's got it beat.
Oh, you
Uh, yeah, no, Cardiff's nice. So I've been there however many months ago, October, no, September it is. Um, and yeah, no, it's a nice city. It's the biggest place I've ever lived. I find with every move, I'm going like one order of magnitude larger. So I grew up in a city on the town, village basically on the order of a few thousand people. Then went to St Andrews, which is like 20,000, and now Cardiff, which is like 300,000. So I'm going an order of magnitude every time. I really don't want to move to Birmingham next, but maybe that's the trajectory I'm on. But no, it's good. The physics department there is really nice, really friendly. Major part why I was wanting to go there before I got my offer anyway. And yeah, on the rain, though, I think I did look this up because it did seem rainier when I got there, but apparently no, the Glasgow does get more rain. It's just more consistent, whereas Cardiff, it's either raining or not, and when it's raining, it is very raining.
yeah, which I think I found that in Bath recently is like we've had a few really nice sunny days, and I guess we're kind of on like the same sort of track as like
Yeah,
yeah,
vaguely.
vaguely. Then if we've had a couple of really big showers like this week,
Yeah.
like yeah,
off this week.
yeah. I guess you live in the UK, moving somewhere else in the UK is not too much of a shock to the system in terms of the levels of rain.
Well, Cardiff is significantly rainier than St Andrews.
Okay, okay.
It's mostly, I think it's mostly east west. I think
Mm.
St Andrews is right on the east coast of Scotland. Um, it's one of the driest places in Scotland.
Wow,
It's
okay.
got like one quarter of the rain of Glasgow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and but it is very, very windy. So it's cold and windy, but not as wet.
Okay, okay. I think I prefer that. I'm fed up of like a pair of suede shoes that have been in my wardrobe for winter, and it's like I can't wear them because it's been raining the entire time. Um, but yeah, anyway. So, what made you? What was the attraction to Cardiff in the first place? Because I guess that's quite a move from undergrad to
Yeah,
PhD
it is a
in
bit of
terms of location.
yeah, it's a bit of a move. It's about 400 miles back home. So yeah, it's a bit of a move. Cardiff initially attracted me because the research.
Hmm.
So I've most of your audience are probably more maths based. So I do astrophysics specifically. I do simulations. In my undergrad, I was simulating star formation and like I'm about to say very small scales. It's still like solar system scales, but in astronomy that is small. So like I'm dealing with like a couple of like early forming stars in
Hmm.
those simulations. Whereas now I'm doing stuff with galaxies where it's thousands of solar masses in terms of mass. Um, but Cardiff, initially I was looking for more star formation when I was looking for PhD stuff. And Cardiff has a really big star formation group. I came down and interviewed for a star formation project, but while I was applying for PhDs, I also found that galaxy simulations were looking interesting as well
Hmm.
because just about everything in astronomy is basically the same processes happening on multiple different scales. And as far as the work simulations go, it's probably the same thing. You take physics, you shove it in a computer, you get information out. Broad oversimplification there. But essentially, I was looking at that as well. And Cardiff also has a fairly big galaxy simulations group.
Hmm.
So I'm very good drawn to the department there, and then I got there for interview, a bit of exploring the place. I was like, this is a nice place. I could live here.
Mm-hmm.
It took a little bit of time to get used to the bilingual signs, so now they just mildly confuse me because I will read. It's the signs are typically Welsh than English,
Yes.
and I will read. There are certain things I will read the Welsh, and my brain will just go, I know what that means now. I'm confused when it's written again.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess that's a good thing, right? You're picking up some of the.
Something it's things like city centre. It's not complete sentences or anything.
Yeah, you can find your way around them. So
Yeah.
that's all you need. Okay, so I guess in terms of then the research, like you said, that was what attracted you to Cardiff in the first place. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about that. So what is your PhD topic on in a little bit more detail?
Okay. So what I type into the review forms when I have to do that is my PhD is in simulations of massive galaxies and the circumgalactic medium, which means nothing to anyone outside the field. So I'm gonna assume people know vaguely what a galaxy is: collection of stars and gas. It spins, spirals. Nice pictures from Hubble.
Yeah.
I don't really care about that. So you've got the galaxy in the center, but then extending probably about 10 times the radius of the galaxy, there's a wall there, out in all directions, is what we describe as the circumgalactic medium, which there's a load of dark matter in there. The CGM is the baryonic part, the bit that's a load of gas and dust and mostly ionized plasma, actually. And it's essentially a boundary layer around the galaxy in the center. Any gas that galaxy is going to take in from intergalactic space, from the intergalactic medium, that all has to pass through the CGM to reach the central galaxy. If central galaxy basically burps out a load of material, that all either has to, if it's going to get into galactic space, has to go through the CGM on the way out, or a lot of it is dumped into the CGM, altering its dynamics, altering its composition, and it's not a brilliantly understood region of galaxies and component of galaxy formation models yet, because it's really hard to see, because it's hilariously low density. Like, we're talking 1 atom per cubic meter in terms of density. It's very, 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 very diffuse, very, very hot, like sort of somewhere between like a million, 10 million Kelvin is sort of the temperature we're dealing with, and it's most of our understanding of it comes from some limited observations where it like absorbs light from background sources. So simulations are how we can sort of explore that. So my simulations are we call them cosmological simulations. So they have a cosmological context. There is some sort of universe, knowledge of a simulated universe outside of this specific bit we're simulating, rather than setting up a galaxy in a box and then letting it run. So, like, I'll run something from like the early universe and the galaxy forms, and then I can look at that rather than setting up an idealized simulation. So we've at the minute I'm working with data that was from simulations my supervisor and her collaborators ran, trying to understand some of the stuff going on in there with magnetic fields. So most of my day-to-day work is data analysis.
Okay. But that is all synthetic data, or is some of that like real? It's kind of like real observations from, I don't know, like telescopes and that sort of thing.
So everything I deal with is synthetic data, simulated data. So they're essentially simulated on through from a set of initial conditions that are informed by observations that have been taken by other research groups. So that's the initial conditions of the simulation, and then we evolve it over like 13.8 billion years with physics models that have been informed by observation. So some are informed by observations, particularly for things we can't resolve, because even within that central galaxy, we can't resolve an individual gas cloud. We just we're resolution limited there. So anything on those sorts of scales is dealt with by what we call a subgrid physics model, which is essentially we have some observations that inform like a sort of correlate a scaling relation or that sort of thing that allows us to approximate it. Elsewhere, the physics is governed by there known like laws of physics, thermodynamics, magnetic fields, hydrodynamics, that sort of stuff.
Okay. Okay. So again, a lot, like you say, all of your work is pretty much computationally.
I spend
Yeah.
most of my life either reading papers
Mhm.
or with PyCharm open coding in Python.
Okay, okay. And how, like, the computing power that's needed to do that, is this something that you do on your own computer, or this is something that you need like an external kind of like supercomputer to do? Because I think if I had to run something on my laptop that was going to take like 13.8 billion years or something that you just said, it would not be happy.
Yeah, so the simulations I definitely do not run on my laptop.
Okay.
So I have run one simulation myself, though I haven't actually done anything with the data yet. And that was run on the Cosma 8 machine, which is based at Durham University
Mhm.
and is part of the UK's Dirac supercomputer system.
Right.
Um, and I think I ran that simulation on their like 40 of their nodes, something like 5,000 CPU cores. So I don't know, that's somewhere around 1,000 laptop CPUs,
Mhm.
essentially all strapped together with ridiculous quantities of memory. You could not run this
Okay, okay.
on a laptop. And that ran for like 4 million CPU hours, which if you ran it on like a single core would be like a century's worth of computation time. So I don't run those on my laptop.
Yeah.
Once those have all run, I then shove all of the data from Durham to a machine based at Cardiff,
Mhm.
and then it's analyzing it. And as far as the computational power, the actual compute stuff, that could be done by a laptop.
Mhm.
It would take a bit longer, but it could be done on a
Mhm.
laptop. Unfortunately, the functions that we run this with are a little bit, well, not so much functions, but the amount of data we take into them involve quite a lot of RAM. So Cardiff Physics Department has accumulated quite a number of computer boxes over the past decades. One of them, one that I use most often, is like 40 cores and 500 gigs of RAM or something, and I use about 300 gigs of RAM when I'm just making plots.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not the sort of thing that I do on my laptop. I load up PyCharm and I remote connect to the current
Right.
system.
Mhm.
So I mean, all the stuff I do, I write on. It's actually written on the Cardiff
Mhm.
computer. I just use my laptop as a terminal essentially.
Okay. Okay. Just because we have like a similar thing here in Bath, and it's like the thought of having to use it just blows my mind. I'm like,
Yeah,
you.
I'm not a choice.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I've tried it.
You tried it.
It's really difficult. It's very confusing.
So I'd had a bit of experience with this sort of thing before coming to Cardiff, because like I said, I was doing star formation simulations in my undergrad, and for that I was running on a machine based at the University of St Andrews. It was much lighter weight simulations I was running there. So like they could have run on a desktop computer if you left them long enough. So yeah, it was I'd had a bit of experience of interfacing with remote machines and setting up simulations to run there, but now it's that lot of steroids, I guess.
Yeah. And is that so? You're first year PhD student, so you're kind of like 6 months in, roughly.
I think this is the end of month 7, yeah. I'm also on a CDT, I realize. Let's tell you guys.
That was going to be my next question. So is that so? Have you been full time research up until now, or is it more of a structured CDT?
It's, well, as from what I understand, it's less structured than Samba.
Okay.
So my CDT is called AIMLAC. That stands for AI. Stands for AI. Stands for Artificial Intelligence, Machine Learning, and Advanced Computing. It's a CDT spread over 5 universities.
Right. Okay.
So it's based out of Swansea,
Mhm.
and also so includes students from Swansea, Cardiff, Aberystwyth, Bangor, and Bristol.
Okay.
So it's 4 Welsh universities plus Bristol. And it's an interdisciplinary CDT. We have a lot of physicists, so a few astrophysicists, a few particle physicists. We've got some people in computer science, maths, and then some more sort of like there's some less obvious ones that we've got somebody working in bioinformatics, looking at sort of different medical treatments. We've got somebody looking at applying AI to education, to access to legal aid and that sort of
Okay.
thing. Particularly for I think that guy's working stuff in Nigeria. Um, the aim with his work is to try and use AI to improve access to the law. So there's a lot of different applications of things in the CDT, and I sit in the advanced computing end at the minute. Because they're within their advanced computing bit, it's kind of like big data, that sort of thing. So I sit firmly in that part. I might move into some of the AI machine learning stuff at some point, but it's not guaranteed. But yeah, with this CDT, we don't have like a research like an MRes year or something like that at the beginning. It's 4 years funded, um, of which you do 6 months as an industry placement with some company that works within the themes of the CBT. And then the first year there's a load of training stuff as well. So we have training event in each of the host cities. So we've had 4 of them so far. We've just got Swansea left. Was in Bangor 2 weeks ago. Takes forever to get there, but yeah, yeah. Along with that, there's some training with different modules that so each of the universities also hosts module as part of the first year.
Right. Okay.
And there's a coding challenge which is happening.
Okay. So I guess it's like whereas Samba is very much we're based all at one institution, and our first year is very structured with courses. Yours is a little bit more kind of dipping in and out of courses, and then more
So the
research.
courses we do, they are sort of semester based. They are courses that undergrads will do.
Okay.
But we do them kind of asynchronously. So
Right.
all the if there's lectures that are pre-recorded, we do there's coursework deadlines, but we can just fit them into our existing schedules. So yeah, it can be quite a lot of work, but it's part of the CDT is the point we're meant to get some training. So
yeah. And how much involvement do you have with the other students on your CDT, like entered at the same time as you? Because, like you say, you're all in different disciplines. So, do you all kind of have a cohort structure in a sense, or not? Not as much.
we do and we don't. So we do in the sense that these training events we have in the first year, it's only our cohort is except the first one in Cardiff. The others it is just our cohort that is there. So we keep like 3 days of training in each of the host cities, and it's just sort of 3 days intense. The only people we see are the other people in the CT. Beyond that, the main thing comes from this coding challenge. So we've got like a sort of the aim of it is that we're supposed to use to develop a machine learning model to basically play the energy market for a hypothetical facility that has a data center and some renewable generation. It's somewhat defined as to what we're meant to be doing. I'd be lying if I said I fully understood what we're supposed to be doing. But we were put into groups for that. So there's there's sort of like subgroups of the cohort, sort of 4 or 5 people, that I talk to more often, and they're based across. Actually, I think we've got someone everywhere except Aberystwyth, I think. So yeah, it's ish.
Yeah.
It's probably not as cohesive as a CDT based in the one place.
Yeah, I can imagine. But I guess you start to build up a network, like it's the very start of your academic career. You've automatically got a network of people at different institutions, which can be helpful, sort of, I guess, later on down the line if you stay in touch, and you get to know academics at lots of different places as well. So
it's also particularly useful, I've found already, if you've got somebody if you start getting to know people that are doing slightly different things. So there's one guy in this coding challenge group who's in computer science, and the number of insightful comments he's made about when I'm talking about the issues I'm having with code, it's really helpful to have that, because he's come from a completely different side where he actually, I don't know, has been taught how to code.
Yeah. Rather than self-taught sort of mathematicians and physicists. But
yeah. I'm not sure I've had more than about 6 hours of actual tuition in how to code in Python.
Okay.
Everything else I was taught in other languages.
I was so is Python something then quite new that you've taught yourself, whereas undergraduate you were taught in I don't know, lab or C++ or?
It wasn't MATLAB, it wasn't C++. My computational physics module was taught in Mathematica.
Is that as in
As in written by Wolfram?
Yeah, that's what. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
the
interesting.
module changed to Python the year after I did it.
Right.
We're all very jealous. Yeah, and then my computational Astro module was taught in Fortran 90.
Okay, so old school then. Yeah.
There's a lot of Astro software is still written and maintained in Fortran 90. It's what a lot of the professors learned about 40 years ago, and they haven't bothered to learn anything new, because why would they? it's changing now. I am now going to have to learn C and C++ because the simulations that I am running are written in that. And if I want to change anything at the moment, I need to learn how to write in that language. Python's something I kind of just muddled through. We got a little bit of tuition in my second year of uni, which is the equivalent of first year here. So we got a little bit of tuition from actually the maths department in St Andrews, and then kind of just muddled through from there. I think kind of just took the mentality of if we throw in enough programming languages at them, they'll figure out enough they can work it out.
Yeah, I don't think that would have worked with me. I'm very much like, I have learnt MATLAB. I am not learning anything else, and I will die on that hill. Don't make me look at another coding language. Oh.
No, so I've got a question. So you said your second year is like a first year
Yes.
here. Could you maybe expand on that a little bit?
Okay. If I ramble on this for too long, stop me.
Absolutely.
Scotland's education system is different from the rest of the UK. It's devolved. Scottish government has control over it. We don't sit GCSEs. We don't sit A levels. We sit national fives, hires, and advanced hires. National five is broadly similar to a GCSE. It's that brilliantly nothing lines up. So we like my friends and I refer to GCSEs as Nat 5.5s. GCSE is slightly more than a national five, and then higher is more than an A level. No, sorry, not more than more than a GCSE, most comparable kind of to AS. And then A level would slot in above a higher, and then advanced hires go a little bit beyond that. Wonderfully, nothing lines up.
But at what ages, sorry, do you take those exams then, if that's maybe a better comparison?
Yeah. So I sat my Nat 5s like 2 months before I turned 16. Yeah, so Nat 5s sort of age 15, about to turn 16. Hires the next year, advanced hires the year after that. The reason that it's all different, the reason that we have first year of uni in Scotland being different than the rest of the UK, is because in Scotland you can leave after you've done hires. You don't have to do advanced hires. Our university grades are all based on our grades at hires. So most people stay for the 6th year of high school, the final year, and do advanced hires or do more hires, and they get their university offers based on their hires. So the vast majority of people in Scotland that go to university go on unconditional offers.
Right, okay.
But because you can leave at the end of your hires, the first year of university has to tack on there. So what that ends up being is a broader education than you get in the first year of uni in England, Wales, and Northern Ireland, because you'll typically do the arts. It's easily defined. You do 3 subjects. In the sciences, it's a little bit more prescriptive depending on what you're doing. So I had my 2 physics modules. I had to do a maths module because physics, and then I had to do an astro module because I was doing astrophysics. So I then had like the equivalent of 1 subject left over to pick, but it varies depending on the courses. That first year was broadly the same level as my 6th year of high school.
Right, okay.
In fact, I could have skipped the first year because my 6th year grades were good enough. I chose not to. I'd never done astrophysics before because it's not offered in schools. I kind of took that first year to get used to living away from home, get used to astrophysics, and get used to how to learn at university because it's different.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess, like you say, then that's a good thing, because even if you don't feel you need the sort of the new education, even though it can be a good refresher, it's all those other life skills that nobody teaches you in school that
it's also just getting used to that difference between how they teach a subject at university and how they teach it at high school. Because I remember this forever. My first mechanics lecture at university, they spent like an hour deriving these equations. About 40 minutes in, we all realized, hang on, this is SUVA. Equations of motion. And the lecturer gets the wonderful German guy called Peter Boyke get to the end of the lecture, and he says, "So these are the equations that you'll probably have called SUVATs at high school. We know that you're used to distance being x and initial velocity being u. And just like xt and x of t and x naught. It's like, we know you're used to this. We're doing it this way anyway."
It really.
This is how it's done in the literature, but
it's relearning everything that you thought you knew. So that meant that your undergraduate was 5 years then.
It was 5 years because I did an integrated masters. BSc would have been 4.
Right. Okay. But then so you did like sort of a bit more of a modular approach in that first year, and after that, that's the point at which you specialised. In just astrophysics?
So I did, but if people doing the physics degree had a bit more choice.
Okay.
So most courses will have like some required modules, and the like the astrophysics course, it was pretty much all taken up by you have astrophysics to do. Whereas somebody doing just physics course would have had like a quarter of their year still to pick,
Mhm.
and most people pick up like extra maths modules or maybe some
Right.
chemistry modules or something like that. Yeah, actually, most of the way going through my degree at St Andrews, it's kind of between 50 and 75% of the year would have been specified by the degree choice.
Okay.
And then everything else was you had at least some choice. It might have been pick three from this list of 7 modules, but we had some choice in it.
Mhm.
But yeah, the true point of specialization came in my third year because with the modules I had in my second year, I could have gone on to do a degree in physics, astrophysics, physics, or physics with maths.
Okay.
I could have done any of those with the modules that I'd taken in my second year.
Mhm. Interesting. It's nice, I think, to have that kind of option,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
you don't maybe
Gives
get.
a lot more flexibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really common for people to arrive saying, "I want to do this thing," and completely change. There were people who came in who wanted to do physics, ended up doing maths. People came in doing physics, ended up doing chemistry. There's somebody that ended up. I did hear of somebody that showed up wanting to do maths and ended up doing history because you can choose to do something from the arts with your available time.
Yeah, I guess
Uh,
so. Yeah, and then if you really enjoy that, why
yeah,
not? Yeah. Mhm.
Stick with it.
so people do change, and I think I quite like it because the idea that at 17 I have a clue of what the hell I want to do with my life is it's a bold
Mhm.
assumption to make.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess leads me into what was it that made you want to do astrophysics in the first place? And at what point did you make that decision? Was it at 17 or was it a little bit later?
First idea of astrophysics for me came earlier, actually. Sorry, excuse that. Yeah, so believe it or not, up until about age 13 or 14, I thought I was going to do an English degree,
Okay.
which veered very far from that. I got to about 13, 14, and my English teacher basically said, yeah, well, most people who do English degrees, if they do a job that involves their degree, end up teaching. I was like, I don't want to do
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
But around the same time, so this must have been about 14, I had a really good physics teacher.
Mhm.
He'd done his degree at Clyde, and we found out through just sort of I was one of the nerds that would sit and chat about his stuff after class as well. And we found out that he did his degree in astrophysics, which was I did not know that was a thing you could do a
Mhm.
degree in. I just thought it was like, oh, you do physics. But then I was like, oh, this you can do space stuff. And I have always been a bit of a sci-fi nerd. Lots of Star Trek. But yeah, so I found out this was the thing, and then I was like, I want to do that because I was enjoying physics, I was enjoying maths. I was very much getting into all sort of sciencey stuff. Much to my friend's happiness because she was a chemistry teacher. But yeah, so I found that that was a thing. Went sort of followed through with my class hires and advanced hires, vaguely heading towards the idea of doing astrophysics or at least a physics degree. I'd kind of decided that was where I was going by about 16.
Okay.
Fortunately, my school had a bit of a my school wasn't the best school, but it was trying to improve its academic
Mhm.
performance. So had a list of requirements when you picked your NAP advisor of everyone must do English and maths, everyone must do at least one science, everyone must do a social
Mhm.
science, everyone must do a creative arts subject. So they intentionally kept people's options broad.
Yeah.
Um, so by the time I'd got to like doing my nat fives, I was like, actually, I could follow this down,
Mhm.
do my hires and advanced hires, end up doing advanced hires in physics, maths, and music because I want to enjoy school. But yeah, so then head off to do astrophysics after that. Yeah, I kind of just got tunnel vision for it after that point.
Yeah, but I think, like you say, for the people that don't know what they want to do,
Yeah,
having so much choice until a later stage is a good thing. But then it's quite nice when you think you know from an early age, and it's just kind of that reinforcement, and you just go,
yeah,
actually, wait, no, this is still what I want. And
yeah.
yeah.
I think it's really good because the specific insistence on do math and do science still leaves a lot of science degrees open to people,
Yes,
because
yeah.
most universities will require the subject plus another science, often
Mm-hmm.
maths.
So what was music then? What was that? Just like a
Fun.
bit of a fun? Yeah.
No, I've always been around music.
Mhm.
My dad played in a Scottish Rite dance band. My mum plays double bass. I had like piano lessons
Okay.
in primary school, and then when I was about to go off onto high school, my school was in town in central belt of Scotland. A lot of the central belt of mining communities used to have a lot of brass and silver bands in the area. So as part of the school started running this brass initiative, they got a deal with a shop in Glasgow to basically rent brass instruments
Mhm.
to first years.
Mhm.
And you've rented it for 3 months, took 3 months of lessons. And then you had the option at that point of either give the instrument back or buy it for the like I think it was like the student discounted price
Right.
minus what you'd already paid in rent.
Okay.
So I got into playing brass instruments like that, and then just kind of kept going with that because I had to do some sort of creative arts thing,
Mhm.
and I wasn't the best at drawing or painting or anything sort of coordinated in that way, and I was the most outgoing on stage. So and annoyingly, my second year drama teacher never really explained there was more to drama than acting, which
Yes, because I can imagine when you then, with all the sort of technical knowledge that you have now.
find out you could have enlightened sound.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so yeah, that was I stuck with music for that, and then just I ended up in that group of kids who just spend every moment outside of class in the music department from about second year of high school
Mhm.
right the way through.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong.
Oh, it was great.
Thanks, great.
Great. Good. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that was how I
Right,
got into
yeah.
music. Ended up keeping that as the final thing,
Mhm.
much to the irritation of my higher chemistry teacher, who spent the entirety of my fifth year trying to convince me to take advanced higher chemistry. But given what that advanced higher chemistry class it did to their classroom with their project, I'm glad it didn't. There may have been 5 liters of concentrated sulfuric acid that I don't know how they made.
Right.
Oh.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, we had some fun in our A-level chemistry class as well. So, yeah. But what instrument do you play then, and do you still play?
So I have many instruments. That's right. What I played most through high school was tenor horn, which is if you picture a tuba, then picture it about this size. That's what you've
Yes.
got.
Yeah.
It's E flat, meant which is there's rarely parts for it in particular orchestral pieces, but they were like, oh yeah, anyone can come along to the school, the council orchestra, the school orchestra, as long as it's vaguely orchestral,
Mhm.
which meant I got very good at transposing by sight. I
Mhm.
also got a trumpet before going to uni because I thought, oh, why not have another instrument?
Mhm.
But that wasn't my second instrument through high school. I also played piano.
Okay.
And then nowadays I don't regularly play my horn anymore. I played it right through university. I played
Mhm.
it in the university wind band, but I don't have a group to play with now.
Mm.
But about a month and a half ago, I bought an accordion, so I'm playing.
That's yeah. I guess it's not so different from the piano, right? Is that it's the
It's
same?
similar but different.
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
it sort of the same notes? It's kind of just translating it from sort of in front of you to a different, like from horizontal to vertical,
Well,
or
the right hand is vaguely the same.
right?
It's just a different angle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the fingering for different notes
Mm.
changes. The left hand is completely different. Because the
Right.
left hand, the buttons are either a bass note or a chord.
Mhm.
Um,
Right.
so the left hand has been a completely different thing to learn,
Mhm.
and I'm still getting there. I mentioned this on my stream earlier this week, and someone was like, "Accordion stream when?" I'm like, "When I am better at it."
When you're better at it, you can make us a little theme tune for like behind
I'm
the
not
research
guaranteeing
theme
that.
tune. Do you play any instruments?
Well, try to is probably more accurate.
Mhm.
I play the piano. Try to play the piano. I haven't played in a long
Mm.
time, but
Yeah,
yeah, I
it's just it's
should get
something that I played the clarinet in high school and I just haven't kept up with it. But I always wanted to play the sax. That was like my dream, and then I just never got there.
That's
But
that too.
yeah,
To be fair,
yeah. So,
oh well, still time.
but it's nice. It's good to have hobbies. We should promote having hobbies during the
Yes,
PhD.
definitely.
Yes.
They are needed.
Yes, very much so. Okay, I think this is probably a good time to take a little break.
Yeah.
So don't go anywhere, viewers. We'll be back in a few minutes, and we'll probably have a little bit more of a chat about Thomas's outreach and science communication
Mhm.
work. So, right, see you in a few. We're back. We're back. We're, apparently, we're back. Yes.
Sure, we're back.
Somebody Seb has not confirmed that we're back. We are back. Yes. Chat have confirmed that we're back. It's fine. It's fine. The countdown sort of worked that time. We discussed it in advance, so it's all.
So we knew the numbers were going.
Yes. Yeah. It's all good now. Okay, so we chatted obviously before the break about your academic experiences and your PhD a little bit. But you also have a lot of experience in outreach and science communication.
Yeah.
More so probably than the other three of us sat in the room. I forgot Henry wasn't here.
Question is, can mathematicians count
No.
after this many
No
years?
is the answer.
It's fine. Physicists can't do maths either. Maths, what's that?
Yes, but we are very much the amateurs in the room. I feel like you've got a
I
lot.
wouldn't call myself professional, but sure.
Slightly less, considerably less amateur.
Okay.
Is that what?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So when did you start? I guess sort of getting into science communication and all that sort of thing.
Okay. What year was it? Actually, why am I masters? It's 2020. It was COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, it was basically, so obviously in the before times we had other things that we could do, and then suddenly it was like, no, stay at home, you cannot leave. And I got sent home from uni sort of halfway through my second year. And I had to shield because my dad was vulnerable. So I was more in the house than everyone else. I was like, well, I could do something. And this was around the time I actually found, I think it was, yeah, it was around this time I found Simon Clarke's Twitch channel. For those who don't know, Simon Clarke is a climate communicator. It has a YouTube channel, Twitch channel, and he was streaming a lot at that point. So I found his Twitch channel, I found his YouTube channel like years before and just hadn't realised. I found his Discord, and there was a few people started talking about science communication, and I thought, talk about space. So in the depths of lockdown, from my bedroom in my parents' house, it was I started making videos about sort of physics, astronomy, that sort of thing. Started on YouTube, so that would have been actually it is 4 years ago today I posted the first video.
Really?
I was checking analytics on the train for a video, and it came up like, today's your YouTube birthday. I'm like, okay. So yeah, 4 years ago today, I posted the first video. I can't remember what it was about. Something space-ish.
This is the part where somebody in chat goes and finds it and posts a link.
Probably. It's technically not the first video I ever put on YouTube, but none of them are public anymore. But yeah, so I started doing sort of YouTube videos and that sort of thing. The aim being to sort of share physics and astronomy with people, specifically astronomy, because there's a lot of content on YouTube about space. There's a lot of it, especially now, is AI generated. There's a lot of it is full of holes and is frankly uninformative. So I wanted to do more sort of actually backed up by research sort of content. So I started doing that. After university, started doing a little bit more back to normal. I also branched out a bit into talking about being a student, because there's not that many people talking about being a student in the sciences. There's not that most like university vloggers and such are women, not men. Very few men actually do vlogging. I also realize I'm talking a lot about vlogging when the video I put up yesterday is literally saying I'm not doing it anymore. But I started talking a bit more about that. I started talking about academia in general. I had one video, it's of late 2021, was like why you shouldn't go to St Andrews, and it was a bit clickbait, to be honest, but it was very effective clickbait. It was clickbait backed up by substance. It was most of the reasons not to are things that are a bit unrealistic, or are just things St Andrews isn't, and there's genuine reason why you shouldn't go if that's what you want. Things like if you want to be in a city, because it isn't, and that sort of thing. That's a tongue-in-cheek thing about it not being in England. But yeah, so that one did particularly well, but there also sort of other academia things like how the Scottish education system is different, how to structure time, study techniques, like what books and stuff I use in physics and all that sort of stuff. Since I fell off bandwagon of that a little bit through my third and fourth year, particularly fourth year, I had sort of a few mental health issues around that time and just didn't have the time to do it. Picked it back up again kind of towards the end of my fifth year at St Andrews and quickly started the PhD. Started doing more sort of PhD vlogs, more targeted science videos. Now I've sort of, like I said, I've stopped doing the vlogging because I think it doesn't reach as many people as I like. And I'm now sort of focusing more on targeting, particularly astronomy. Trying to do something slightly different to what most people do, which is chase the big stories, like talk about the latest thing in the crisis in cosmology, the latest extreme object that the James Webb Space Telescope has found, or something like that. Like I'm trying to do stuff that isn't just chasing those, because as much as people search for those and they do get clicks, it doesn't solve the main reason I wanted to get into this, which was to try and generally improve scientific literacy. Yeah, aside from that, I do Twitch. Started that in about 2021. They were sort of hybrid of some game streams, some science, some study streams. So I now do a couple study streams a week. Currently doing a game stream a week, and I'm trying to bring more science back into that. I used to do more science on Twitch, but it involved a lot of prep time. So yeah, now I'm starting to bring science back into Twitch a bit more in the next couple of months. Most of the science I now talk about is what I describe as passive science communication, where I'll talk a bit about astronomy when I'm talking about what I'm doing in a study stream break, or I'll play a game like Space Engineers. It's a space themed game, or I'll play Kerbal Space Force, some sort of space themed game, to talk more about whether the game is accurate, what the science is that we've got behind these sorts of things. We do sort of deviate towards the NASA astronomy photo of the day on most streams. So yeah, I care about that passive SciComm because it's it's kind of like getting some science by the back door sort of thing. Like people come to the stream not expecting to learn about astronomy.
Yeah.
And then I sort of go like, yes, this is passive space.
Yeah, so I guess people, like you say, they come to your study stream for the reason that it's a study stream and it's a co-working kind of environment. But then, like you say, get some astronomy knowledge on the side. Okay.
It also helps. It's one of the things I'm really enthusiastic about talking about.
Yeah.
And if I can talk about one thing for an extended period of time, it feels like a nice 10-minute break.
So you've mentioned a bit of like passive.
Yeah.
So active is more what you're doing on your YouTube channel.
Yeah. So it's the sort of thing where I would take a topic that I want to explore, want to tell people about, and I will like distill that into a more thing that is like, this is explicitly about science. I'm going to tell you about a thing. And you can do this with streams, like this vaguely what I'm planning in the future, which is that the stream will be about a topic or a series of topics, and that is the entire point of the stream is to talk about science. But yeah, YouTube is probably the best example of it. If I pick a topic, I do some research on it, I write a script, and I make a video about it.
So very much like a seminar, but a bit more of a
kind
relaxed
of
one, maybe.
Bit more relaxed, not quite academic level.
Like a similar amount of prep, I guess. Like you still have to plan what you want to say and research a little bit into the story behind the video. Like
So I mean, I'm kind of in the process of doing this at the minute for a video. So I start off with like what is the point of the video. The example I've been given was if you could fit it into the sort of a AEIOU framework. So we want to be doing at best, at minimum, 3 of the following, which is awareness. What's the E? Can't remember what the E is. Haven't written a video in a while.
You can circle back to the E if it helps.
Informative, opinion forming. I'm just like, E is entertaining. That's the thing I struggle with. But yeah, it's like so make people aware of something, entertain them, inform them about something, get them to form an opinion on something, or get them to understand something. If you can hit sort of 3 of those, then I'd say that's a good topic to make a video about. From there, I sort of try and get maybe 3 like learning objectives. So dredging up terminology from school, but there's sort of three sort of main learning objectives because you can't really cover much more than that in a sort of 10-15 minute video.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, sort of set out the structure of it. And there, I've been encouraged to use. I think that's quite helpful. Is uh, therefore and but. So every point that I make in a video, I want to try and be able to link it
Mm-hmm.
with either therefore or
Okay.
but. So I don't know. For example, if I was talking about something like gravity, like satellites orbit, satellites in orbit feel the force of gravity, therefore they speed up, but they don't hit the ground because they're moving fast enough sideways. Therefore, they go around the planet forever unless they get hit by something. Go on.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to link everything with therefore or buts because then it fits into a more narrative style. Never quite got the hang of some complicated narrative things like therefore back at the ranch, so just sort of jumping between two different
Right.
things. So the classic example of this is actually Star Wars Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. Spoilers for a movie that came out in the 70s. But you follow like Battle of Hoth, then Luke goes off to Dagobah, does a bit of training, cut away to um, Han and Leia and Chewbacca going off to Cloud City. See all that sort of stuff. Build up the tension there, then cut there, therefore back at the ranch.
Mm.
Go back to Luke, you build up the tension there as much as possible. You flip between them, and it's to try and keep people engaged.
Yeah.
I've not got the hang of that one yet.
Okay.
So I start trying to construct the sort of structure of a video. And normally I have a vague idea of what I want the main beats of the sort of narrative to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I normally use this as a starting point for go and look for my sort of background research because I want to pick something I have a vague interest in before I start. But that structure changes if I find something like, oh, actually, no, this is especially if it's something that I'm less familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
I might find stuff that changes the structure of the video. So I do a lot of research and stuff, and then especially if it's a science video like this sort of thing, I'll write a script for it because otherwise I will ramble. As you may have gathered.
No, we rambling is more than welcome on behind the research. We appreciate it, but yeah, not as you haven't been rambling at all. It's very interesting. Do you find that when you're again, I guess, planning for these videos and like you're learning stuff, obviously you pick something in the first instance because it interests you.
Yeah.
But then do you find that it's kind of helped you with your work and interest in like astrophysics? Do you think it reinforces like your love of what you do?
It can do.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, yes. It's also helped a lot with my ability to find papers quickly and to skim them and do what literature sounds a lot faster. So it can certainly help reinforce knowledge, especially if it's something that I am interested in. Like if I do something on galaxies, I need to like a lot of time I have to pare that down because otherwise I will talk too much. But if it's something like I don't know, dust, cosmic dust, I'd be like it's not the most interesting thing in the world or well, the universe, I guess. I made a video on that a few months back, and the general public seems to agree with me that it's not the most interesting thing, judging by views. But yeah, it can do. It can reinforce it, but the longer a project goes on, especially if it's something that's I think people would be interested in, but I am myself not as interested in, then I kind of get sick of the project eventually.
Okay. And do you think I just wanted to pick up on the point you made about like when your mental health maybe wasn't as good. Did that kind of tie into that in the sense that when a project starts to feel like work rather than fun? And I guess how do you keep it feeling like fun and something that is a hobby along?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's certainly a thing because yeah, if it starts to feel like work, it starts becoming a bit trickier to keep going for. The way that I sort of keep going with that is that I do multiple things. So if I'm working on like a big video that start to become feeling like work, sometimes I'll just push it a couple of weeks in sort of release schedule and do something else, even if it's just some shorts or something. Like shorts, reels. I don't do TikTok, but that sort of format of video. But yes, as far as I think it's that sort of initial thing of trying to get started, and that's what I really struggled with when I was had some more struggles with mental health and such. Weirdly, those didn't happen during the pandemic; they came later. But yeah, that was it became a casualty of it, mostly
Mhm.
because I was in a state of I couldn't really do much more
Yeah.
than what I had to.
Yeah, and at the end of anybody's undergraduate degree is a stressful time
Yeah.
at the end of the day. So, like you say, as much as it's good to have hobbies and things that are external, sometimes when they just, like you say, they add on the pressure and
Yeah.
yeah. But no, it's good that you've kind of found a way to incorporate it into your work and
Yeah.
find the enjoyment out of it. So
Yeah, and it's turned into something that's actually been really helpful because it means that I mean a lot of people that I've met, a lot of people doing psychom. Cat's obviously one of them.
mhm.
And it means that actually having completely by accident when moving to Cardiff, I've moved a lot closer to a lot of people I know doing psychom.
Mhm.
So it's nice.
Yeah.
Rather unintentional overall because I applied to places all over the UK and Cardiff's
Mhm.
just the one that said yes.
It's a good area of the country to be. So yeah. I'm I'm going to put Matt on the spot slightly and ask if you've ever done a video about space
Space weather,
weather.
not yet.
Oh,
See, this is your moment, Matt. You could do like a collaboration.
maybe
Get something
maybe
going.
that's the one.
I mean, I've vaguely hinted to this already that I'm starting up a series where I basically, like, in each video, talk about a new, like a different object or phenomenon or something or other.
Mhm.
And once I've managed to get through stars and planets and magnetic fields and what an atmosphere is, then I probably will get to space weather at some point.
No, space weather's really interesting.
Yeah.
That was part of my master's project. I did data analytics for predictive space events. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was a really interesting topic because it was very like unmathsy at the time.
Mhm.
So it was learning about like actual things that happen. So it felt very strange to go from numbers to images really, and then back again. But it was a great experience.
Yeah. Suppose you get slightly closer to pretty pictures when you go to something a little bit more image based.
No, it was really good.
Mhm. Okay. We'll put a pin in that one. We'll keep it like yeah.
Take you out the hots.
But yeah, I mean, I did definitely. I came to your PSS talk and it was interesting. It was a good talk. I don't think I can tell you.
People PSS.
Postgraduate seminar series. So it's our like we have a little seminar that is just for postgrads.
Right.
So it's like a safe space for people to go and practice presentations or give a seminar on your research or anything that interests you really. And there's no academics allowed. So it's like a good place to practice and just if you like fluff your words or something and then need to say, right, what did you guys think of that and get some feedback, it's a good place to do that. But yeah, so you did tell us all about space weather, and in my head, it's still like thunderstorms in space.
Yeah, that's quite right, I think.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember, was it space weather that caused the Texas power grid to completely shut down, or was that something more terrestrial?
That's too hard, that question.
Not allowed.
Yeah, I can't remember. I can't remember if it was geomagnetic storms or if it was something more Earth system based.
I think so. Maybe. It did wipe out a load of satellites.
Yeah.
I can't say
And
this is something that was on my
Starlink.
radar at all.
Yeah, it wiped out like 40 Starlink satellites.
Sorry.
Good.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Astronomy does not like Starlink because funnily enough, putting a load of satellites in orbit doesn't really help if you're trying to take pictures of space from the ground.
No,
No.
I can imagine. So I wanted to go back to an earlier point you made about sort of representation in, I guess, outreach
Yeah.
and in communication, because like you said, that it sort of seemed like a bit on the flip side to me, like in STEM, I guess we're used to sort of seeing like women being maybe the minority.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier that it's like when you see sort of vloggers and kind of like university students and PhDs doing like this is my experience,
Yeah.
it tends to be from whatever discipline, but tends to be more women. Is
Yeah.
that what you found?
As far as there are men that do it, but there's not as many, particularly in the physical sciences, particularly in things like physics and I think probably maths and engineering as well. And I think it may be somewhat of a, I don't know, like an overcorrection of just because women are a minority in that sort of field, there's that sort of push for we want to show off women in STEM, which is great, and we absolutely need that.
Yeah.
But it can then end up being that there is less on the other side, which I mean, it just means there's space on YouTube, and there should be more space in everything for everyone. So.
Yeah, but like you said, that's the thing. Representation of any kind is important, and it's good that you've sort of identified that there was this gap in kind of that area, and are doing what you can to.
I think there's also the other thing I noticed was it tends to be where there are people that's focused around specific universities. Like there are loads of people, get loads of traffic for being like Oxford and Cambridge vloggers, because those universities get a lot of attention. Whereas, and then beyond that, it's the sort of the more prestigious ones like in London, like UCL or Imperial or something like that. And you end up seeing very little from universities across the rest of the UK. There's not that many from I think it's an out of a tiny university and there weren't that many people there doing that sort of thing. And there's loads of universities I will have never heard of that also don't have that many people as well. And I don't know, I felt there should be more sort of discussion of the variety of paths that because I don't know, I feel anything that can take the big prestigious universities off their pedestal a bit more is great, because a degree from Cardiff or Bath or Bristol or University of East Anglia, most of the time you're learning the same stuff. You just don't get that rubber stamp from the prestigious recognised name.
Yeah. Like you say, it's good.
I realise I've said this having done my university degree at St Andrews, but
no, I think, like you say, all universities have their merits, and they should be showcased as equal. Like the achievement is you still achieved regardless of where you've done that thing. So yeah. Okay. Would you have any advice for somebody that wanted to get into science communication, sort of making YouTube videos and that sort of thing?
Sure. Yeah, a couple of things. First thing is that you don't need fancy cameras. So you don't need even what we've got here for behind the research stream that's like a Canon like M50 mirrorless small camera. You don't even need that. The minimum you need is like a phone, because phone cameras are great. Phone microphones are passable. Chances, especially if you've got something like a newer phone, a newer iPhone or a newer Pixel or Samsung, they're gonna have sufficient software tweaks in the background to make the audio fine. You don't need to go out and sort that. The main thing is honestly just start. I've heard it said that you have 100 bad videos that and the sooner you get them out of the way, the sooner you will start doing good stuff.
Yeah.
So YouTube and any sort of science communication thing like it is quite often a victim of perfect being the enemy of the good. People will spend ridiculous amounts of time on that first video to make it as good as they can, hit publish, and nobody sees it. You're just going to throw stuff at the wall until you find out what sticks is the general advice that I can give there. Beyond that, as far as science communication more generally, it's again, I think it's that sort of thing of the perfect being the enemy of the good. You don't have to be a world-leading expert in something to tell someone something about it. Like, you don't need to get every minute detail 100% correct to be able to share something valuable. Because I don't know if anyone remembers having done chemistry in school, where they tell you a load of things as if they are fact, as if they are gospel, and then you get to the next year and say, everything you just learned was rubbish, here's what it's actually like, and that keeps happening. And this is why I do physics, not chemistry. But I think it's that same sort of thing of you can strip back things and make simplifications to explain more basic things to people who don't understand that yet. Because I guarantee that anyone, especially university students, know more about their topic than the vast majority of the general population. And especially if you're in fields like a slight advantage being in astronomy, of people like space, that people will be interested in it. And it's more important to be enthusiastic and to actually try than to just work on something forever and hope that you'll get there. Hope that the first video will be the one that explodes, which it very rarely is. Those channels that you see that have got like billions of subscribers and like 6 videos, they're normally started by people who already have something else and spent those first 100 videos being absolutely rubbish.
I mean, that's reassuring, right? Like behind the research, we should be like nearly coming up for like 100 videos. Like maybe we're nearly going to hit the big time. Like, So if the reels that I post on Instagram or anything to go by, then the quality of those is still dreadful. But I do it anyway because they make me giggle. So
They make me laugh. It's
that's
great.
there we go. They make
That's the main thing is you need to enjoy it.
yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than seeing somebody who clearly does not enjoy what they're doing, trying to do it, because you
Mhm.
never go anywhere.
Yeah. Well, okay. That's good advice. I think yeah, Kat says this is all for making Beth happy. And it is, yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully I'll come up with some more wacky ideas to make the teen film sometime soon. And we can get some more reels up on the Instagram. Um, but yeah, so I guess going back to the PhD a little bit, you just said about like you're lucky that people ask you things and people are interested because people like space.
Yeah.
But do you find that people have a lot of misconceptions about your PhD and your research because they're like they like space, so they think they know space, and then find that they sort of really don't know where you sit in kind of
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'm just going to dispel the biggest misconception that everyone has about astrophysicists. We do not know constellations. We just don't. I can point out like Ursa Major because it's the plough. I can point out Orion's belt and maybe Cassiopeia. That's it.
I mean, I think that's still maybe more than the average person.
Like even so, like, people expect me to know what's going on in the night sky because I worked in astrophysics. I haven't just telescope in years. Actually, I have because I sold mine. Yeah, that I think is probably the biggest misconception is that there's this thought that professional astrophysicists, professional astronomers have all the knowledge of an amateur astronomer plus the physics bit.
Yeah.
They do, and that's what lets them do the work. Whereas in a lot of cases, an amateur stargazer is going to know a lot more about what you see when you look up than I will, or even an observer, because I don't touch telescope data. So I think that's probably the biggest one. Also, the other common ones. I don't necessarily want to work at NASA. That one comes up a lot. But yeah, I think for a lot of people, it's just I get this sort of lack of understanding of what astrophysics actually is. I remember right through university, I'd get what are you doing at university? Astrophysics. Oh, and then they don't know what to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's probably the main things. There's a bit of misconception around that. Yeah, I guess it's that sort of just expectation that we just know everything about what's going on in space. That or that we know anything about rocketry and like aerospace.
Okay,
And
okay.
like a lot of us are interested in it, but it doesn't mean that we know it inside out. I cannot explain how SpaceX's Starship works. To be fair, as far as I can tell, it mostly doesn't at the moment. But
That was quite interesting because I think it's a similar story in maths sometimes when someone says you do math and like, oh, you're great at times tables.
No.
Stuff like that.
We've-
No. It's quite the opposite actually.
Yes, we've already proved that Beth cannot count the number of people in the room. So yeah, it's I think it's good to, like you say, dispel those misconceptions.
Yeah.
I must admit, like when you were coming here today, and I think I would like to think that being on the kind of STEM side of PhD things, it's like, well, obviously I know that there is more to astrophysics than just look at those stars. But I still had no idea like what a PhD in astrophysics could look like.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to know, I guess, a little bit more about what you do and the fact that there is research to be done there and there is space for things more than just looking through a telescope. Like yeah.
Yeah, there definitely is, and I think most people's PhDs will look day to day broadly similar to mine in astrophysics, because whether it's me dealing with simulations data or the person who sits in the office, who sits behind me in the office working with data from telescopes or from big arrays in the Atacama Desert and such, like all of us are dealing with vast quantities of data and we're shoving it into programs that we've written ourselves in. Well, we're dealing with Python at this point. And we use computer code to analyze this stuff and get out data that we can then do things like statistics. Some people do statistics, I do minimal statistics. But dealing with a lot of data analysis techniques to try and tease that little bit of new knowledge out of the terabytes of data that we get. but for some people, for people who are observers, then yeah, they do end up going. A lot of them will go and go to Hawaii, go to La
Mhm.
Palma, go to Chile, and will go and visit these telescopes because they put in telescope proposals to observe the things that they want to study in their
Mhm.
PhD.
Mhm.
Um, I don't get to do that. I don't get the travel to likes of Chile or Hawaii or La Palma. I just get conference travel, which yeah, it works.
It's still good enough. You could find conferences in Chile or Hawaii.
They're probably a bit too warm for me. I went to Vienna in February.
Yeah, I guess this is coming from the Scottish person, so yeah.
Yeah, there was an American Astronomical Society event. Oh, I think it's in like July or something, and it's in like New Mexico. I'm like, I would die.
Yeah, yeah. I must admit, I'm going to Vienna in July. So if you have like any nice places, you'll have to let me know.
I
Um,
didn't actually get to that much exploring, to be quite honest. It was a week-long conference, and it was
right.
just very
Okay. Okay.
intense.
Okay.
Um, got to a little bit of exploring, but I can't remember any of the places, the like fifth places I went.
Okay.
Um,
But yeah, the heat is something that I'm like, yeah. We'll see how I cope with that.
yeah,
Mm.
I don't know. It wasn't as cold as I was promised in February. It was an abnormally warm February in Vienna.
It's not an acceptable level of cold. I was
I could stand on the roof on the roof of the 12-story building we were
Mhm.
having the conference in at like 9 p.m. in a t-shirt. Like this
Okay.
is not comfy.
Right, okay. I think we can probably think about wrapping up.
Yeah.
But before you go, I will allow you. Well, I would like to hear your, shall we say, three favorite astrophysics facts.
Oh, no.
Is that a good number, or would you rather just do one? Is it
We can probably manage three.
okay?
Um. Okay. Uh. Okay. So I guess the first thing is that when a large star, so like maybe 10 times the mass of the sun, dies, it will blow up in supernova, and it will send out more energy in like a couple of months than the sun will send out in its entire lifespan, like, including its death, like its entire lifespan, but like in a couple of months,
Okay.
is bright enough to outshine an entire galaxy. Um, well, the second one would be that there was the thing that was being detected by a lot of radio, well, actually a lot of radio telescopes. One radio telescope was seeing these like really short, really specific bursts of radio
Mhm.
energy. It's with an observatory in Paris, in like France somewhere. Um, and the thing got published, like they called this like a keraton that was this inexplicable object. No other observatory could find this thing, and they started like thinking, okay, is this something specific to this telescope? They did search around this entire observatory, and they thought, oh, could it be the microwaves? And they turned the microwaves on, and they turned on the telescope. It's not the microwaves. And this went on for a while until until they realized most of these spikes happening around lunchtime.
Mhm.
And apparently, what it was people heating up their food in the microwave, opening the door before it turned off.
Right.
Meaning the microwaves weren't leaking when they were on, and the door was
Yeah.
but they'd open it and microwave radiation escaped from inside the microwave at that point, and that was showing up on the radio telescope at the observatory. So there was just a thing of like there was a sign went up, do not open the microwave door before it's finished.
Okay.
And then I guess the last one would be that the circumgalactic medium is a thing, which most people just don't know exists. And yeah, I know it's cool. It's fine. And that we don't know what constellations are. Bonus one.
Bonus one. Okay. No, I mean that's the lesson of the story is don't open the microwave before it's finished heating.
At least if you're near a radio
Yeah.
telescope. Probably not in general. It's probably not good to be radiated by microwaves, but
No, no. But yeah, that's a general rule of thumb.
yeah.
It's yeah. Okay. As I say, yeah, well, we can probably wrap up there. Thank you very much for coming on the stream.
Thank you for
It's
having
been
me.
lovely to chat to you. We will be back with another Meet the People stream first Friday of next month, which I believe is the 7th of June. So nobody's going to tell me that it's not. So we're going to go with the fact that it's the 7th of June. And then hopefully see you once more in between then. but you can keep up to date with our socials. I don't know where the socials are, Seb. Are they like they're there? They're there. Yeah. Just like randomly pointing, hoping they're in the right place. So yeah, you can keep up to date with what we're doing in the meantime on our socials. Yeah, don't think there's anything else to add. So, right. Thank you again, Thomas.
Thank you.
We'll see you all very soon. Bye.
Bye.